I don't know where to begin, because every time I think of her, my heart feels like it's breaking for the first time all over again. She wasn't just my daughter, she was my little friend, my companion, my joy. From the moment she was born, I remember holding her in my arms and whispering to her, "You are my heart outside my body." I raised her with everything I had. When she was sick, I stayed awake through nights. When she smiled, the whole house lit up. She would run to me, call me Papa with such sweetness that the world would melt away. Her laughter was like music, and her tears were like daggers in my chest. Every birthday I would surprise her. Cakes, balloons, gifts. Not because she asked for them, but because I wanted her to feel like the most special soul alive. And she was. She truly was. You see, people often say that daughters are their father's weakness. But to me, she was my strength. She gave me purpose. She gave me meaning. As she grew older, our bond didn't fade, it only deepened. We talked like friends, laughed like companions. She would tell me her secrets, her dreams, her silly jokes. She would hug me after a long... She was no longer my little girl running around with dolls in her hands. She was growing into a young woman, beautiful, graceful, and full of dreams. And then, one day, she told me about someone. I still remember that evening. She came to me with that shy smile on her face, the same smile she had when she wanted something badly as a child. She sat beside me and whispered, "Papa, there's someone I want you to meet." My heart stopped for a moment. I wasn't ready. To me, she would always be my little princess, not a woman in love. But I looked into her eyes and I saw something, that sparkle, that innocence, that belief. She was in love. As a father, your instinct is to protect. You judge the man. You weigh his worth. You try to see if he deserves your daughter. And to be honest, when I first met him, something in me hesitated. There was a storm inside me saying, he's not right for her. But how could I fight my daughter's happiness? She pleaded. She cried. She held my hands and said, "Papa, he is the one. Please, for me." And so, I gave in. Not because I trusted him, but because I trusted her. Her wedding day came. I dressed her in white, walked her down the aisle, and though every step felt like I was losing a part of myself, I smiled. I smiled because she was smiling, and that's all that mattered to me. The house felt empty after she left. I would walk past her room and see her books, her pictures, her laughter trapped in the walls. I missed her terribly, but I told myself, she's happy, and that's enough. For a while, things seemed perfect. She would call me, tell me about the dinners, the surprises, the little joys of married life. She sounded happy, and I believed it. But happiness can sometimes be a mask. Slowly, her voice on the phone lost its sparkle. Her laughter became shorter. She spoke less about joy, more about responsibilities. I asked her many times, "Is everything okay, my child?" She would always reply, "Yes, Papa, everything is fine. Don't worry about me." But a father knows. A father feels the cracks, even when his daughter hides them behind smiles. There were times when she came to visit me, and I saw faint shadows in her eyes, like she had cried too much the night before. I asked again. She denied it again. I wanted to believe her, so I told myself it was just my imagination. Maybe she was tired. Maybe it was just life. But deep inside, my heart wasn't convinced. And then I discovered the truth. Not from her lips, not from her words, but from the silent bruises she tried so hard to hide. That was the day my world started collapsing. The day I saw the first bruise on her hand, my heart sank. It wasn't an accident, I knew it. A father always knows. She laughed it off, saying she slipped or that she burned herself in the kitchen. But her eyes told me a different story. They were begging me not to ask further. I wanted to grab her shoulders and shout, "Tell me the truth!" But instead I stayed silent. I didn't want to break her. And so began my silent war. Every time I met her, I searched for signs. Sometimes it was a faint mark on her arm. Sometimes her smile was too forced, too fragile. Sometimes she avoided eye contact. My blood boiled inside me. I wanted to go to that man and tear him apart. But then she would hold my hand and say, "Papa, I'm fine. Please don't worry." What could I do? She was my daughter. but she was also someone's wife now. Society tells a father to step back, to let her handle her marriage. So I convinced myself maybe I was overthinking. Maybe it wasn't as bad as it seemed. But every night, when I closed my eyes, I saw her tears, and I knew something was breaking inside her. Do you know what's worse than seeing your daughter hurt? It's knowing she's suffering but still staying silent because she refuses to complain. I asked myself 1,000 times, was she protecting him? Was she protecting me? Or was she simply protecting her love? I'll never know. But the truth was her silence was killing her, slowly. There were nights when she called me late, her voice trembling, her words broken. She would say, "Papa, I miss you. Papa, I want to come home." I told her, "Come. This house will always be yours." But the very next morning she would act as if nothing had happened. It was like she was fighting two wars, one against the man who hurt her, and one against the world that told her to stay. And I stood helpless. The father who once believed he was her hero now felt like the weakest man alive. I had seen her live. I had seen her smile. And now I was watching her die, little by little, every day. But I never imagined that one day I would lose her completely. Not to sickness, not to fate, but to her own hands. That day still haunts me. It was a stormy evening. The phone rang. I still hear that sound in my nightmares. Her voice wasn't on the other end. Instead, it was silence, whispers, chaos. And then the news that shattered my world. My daughter, my little girl, had ended her own life. I refused to believe it. I screamed. I ran. I begged God, please, no, not her. But when I reached her, she was gone. Her eyes were closed, her face pale, but there was still a trace of pain carved into her features. And I realized she had been screaming for help all along, but I had been too blind, too weak, too afraid to see. I fell on my knees. I held her lifeless. Every morning I wake up, hearing her laughter in the house. Every night I close my eyes and see her running towards me, calling me Papa. And then I remember. She's gone. Do you know what that does to a man? It tears him apart. I had seen her live. I had seen her cry. And in the end, I saw her die. And now I live with that death every single day. She was my daughter. She was my friend. She was my heart. And now she's gone. So when you ask me who I am just a father. A father who failed to protect the only piece of his soul he ever truly loved. The story of a father who carries his daughter's death inside him.